that later, because I was with you next to you in some of those moments. And so it was fun to watch you grow. It was really fun. You always amaze me. So let's hear from Kimberly Smith. Kimberly Smith, you opened up a physical retail store. How did you get started? How did you
It's
finance
crazy. I don't know if I advise anyone to do that. So I started online. When I was starting online, I was still working full time. And so, like Roz said, my first investor has been all my employers that have paid me. So I looked at it as, okay, I guess I'm going to start this business, which at the time, if you would have met me 5 years ago, I would have never thought that this is what I would be doing, where I would be. I was pretty satisfied practicing law. I thought it was interesting. I was good at it. But like a lot of our businesses that Black women start, it came from a pain point for me. And as a consumer, I felt that what didn't exist needed to. I mean, I live in the DMV. What it used to be Chocolate City, not so much anymore, but it is still, a lot of Black women, Black and brown women, and we just needed a space or an outlet where we could find products for us. And so I decided to start an online store. Mm-hmm. And so an online store, anyone that wants to do that are not creating products, I mean, it's an easy start, right? It doesn't take a lot of startup costs. So I was able to do that more easily while I was still working full time. After a year of having the website, I knew that if I was going to be serious about this business, it needed to have a physical location because beauty is really experience. And plus, I didn't just want to be an online store. If I'm going to do it, I wanted to do it 110%. And so I knew that one, I wanted a physical location. Two, I want to have multiple locations. And so the unique thing about how I went about opening this store was partnering with my best friend. So both of us, had a vision of wanting to have this physical location. And we all know that a physical store, I mean, the startup costs are ridiculous, and the ongoing operational costs are ridiculous. And so we pretty much pooled our resources together to create this co-op model where we have ownership in the cooperative, but we still separately own our separate businesses. So I'm operating my Marjani brand that I started, I'm operating that within the co-op. And so we are sharing, the risk, and we're sharing the rewards of creating just a different model and a different way of looking at retail. And so, it's interesting because when we were trying to open a store, we did look and trying to get funding. And I mean, just people, you might just laugh in my face. Like that to me just probably would have been better than the responses I was getting of not understanding the model, not understanding why I was choosing this particular demographic, that I should expand it and broaden it. It shouldn't be geared towards women of color. I received feedback like, how can you scale? And I'm like, well, how did Sephora, Folane, and Blue Mercury scale? I mean, so that question, I don't understand that. So it's been interesting to me to receive some of the feedback that I have. And so thankfully, adding a business partner, we've been able to get to this point and continue to grow. Now we're in the phase prior to COVID. We were in real discussions about how we were going to expand. I think for us, we're in an interesting position now because COVID kind of set us back a lot. Yeah. And that growth plan just looks a little bit different. So in real time right now, I'm not sure, we're not going to be as aggressive with it as we were planning to going into this year. So that's where we are.
So you guys financed and partnered and pooled your resources.
Yep.
And you're a lawyer. What's your business partner's background?
So my business partner, she is in political communications. So she works on women's rights issues by day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And no banks would touch it at the time.
No banks would touch it. No.
A trend here, y'all.
Can I say something?
Hey, yes. Hey, Mabel.
Hi. So it's actually really inspirational to hear, like, I think we're in a new wave with COVID and all this, diversity and inclusivity, and people are actually interested in our point of view and our brands. One thing because I like to give people advice that they can actually walk away from, an action item. I think in order to ask for money, understand banks or whatever, you really have to understand the foundation of the language of money, and that is accounting and finance. Like any deal that you make with a bank or whatever, you have to understand the numbers. And one of the opportunities that I see with brands is that they're great on the product development and they're great on telling the story, but they don't understand their own numbers. You have to understand, what is your gross revenue? What is your net sales? What is your cost per product? Like, maybe we could create like a little cheat sheet of most commonly metrics that you need to understand, because that is the biggest issue. As a society, obviously money is like educational, right? We've had to learn our way into understanding how money works, but something that you can walk away from that is, let's say, actionable today, that is also accessible information, is there are these free classes on Coursera on the principles of accounting, the principles of finance. Very easy, 6 weeks. You sit down and you really understand. You don't have to know the nitty gritty. You don't need to be, know all the finance to be a tax person, but you need to understand. Accounting is like the principles of the numbers, and then finance is how you use it. I just want to be real about that
Love
part.
that. Yeah.
If you don't understand your number, and if you don't know your own numbers, like even for Shark Tank, the first things that they ask you, and they're very principled concepts, simple concepts. What is your gross sales? What is your net sales? What is your cost per product? And most people don't have those answers. Like, it's good to know your top line numbers. Okay, I generated $1 million, but what was like the benefit of all that effort? Some people make $5 million, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have a profitable business. They generate revenue, but they don't generate profits. So that's something that I want everyone to like wrap their head around, because if you understand your numbers and you understand your business, then you have the confidence to go out and get money. Right now, more than ever, VCs are dying for whatever reason, right? I don't like to live in the past as like, oh, it was so hard to do this out of a third. Now we're moving forward, and looking forward, you have to strike the iron while it's hot. Like, if you have a brand that you've been in the market for whatever, start getting your receipts in order. Start understanding, did you file your business taxes? Do you understand those? Do you understand the nature of the 5-year-old business that you've been running? Do you know what I mean? And if you don't, because you don't have to know all these questions. This is where, like, what I like what Kimberly said, you have to find a partner, like you have to find a friend, a resource. LinkedIn, you can find, holler at me. Hey, I'll put my email in there. Like, but you have to, at the principle of any business, and I stress this, you have to know your numbers. If you're selling a bottle of shampoo, you have to know what is the cost for you to produce said bottle of shampoo, not just the raw ingredients, the bottles, your time to market it, all these elements. Because when you understand just the foundational, even just the cost of one product, and you're able to articulate that to a bank, a VC, or an angel investor, that it gives them the confidence to say, this person understands what they're doing.
I would say, though, for banks, you can know your numbers and they still say no if you haven't been in business for 3 years and you don't have 3 years of actual tax.
Yeah, I don't mean to oversimplify. Yeah, I don't mean to oversimplify. The way we raise our money was angel investing. So I don't even know, and I don't want to profess to understand what it's like to get a bank loan. It's not my experience, but I do agree. You know your numbers, and then know the game, back to the game of where you're trying to get the money. If it's a bank, there are processes in place. 3 years in business, you have to have documentation of those 3 years. You had to have filed taxes for those 3 years. You can't just have like, I've been in business for 3 years and you haven't documented anything. You haven't abided by a process to be able to show the documents to said bank to even get a chance. So documentation and know your numbers.
It's a good